Hi guys, my name is Brittany Ransom, and this is the Apprentice podcast. We're all about amplifying Black inspiration, and I'm super excited for our newest guest. She's literally the embodiment of the gift that keeps on giving, y'all. She literally, I can be honest, because you have like an extensive career, and in that, like, you've been doing stuff in like data engineering and AI. Not only just doing it, but thriving at it with it, you and your teams. Yeah. So that's awesome, and all that on top of like starting your own businesses as well as simultaneously living in 2 different countries and being a mom, which is like a whole thing. That's the whole thing on top of that. So I'm super excited to chat with you. I don't want to spill too many details. I want to be able to talk about it, talk through it and everything. But I'm just interested to learn about you and your life and everything and just to chat. So, let me say your name, I guess. Yeah. Let's welcome Marina Malaguti.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. It's good to have you. Yeah.
I first, you know how I got to learn about you because you were posting something on LinkedIn, and then it went into your YouTube, and I saw your interviews, and I thought they were really cool.
Thank you.
And I used to have my own little podcast at some point, so I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I just wanted to reach out and say, good work.
Yes, thank you so much. I remember you reached out. I was like, oh, that felt so good. I was like, wow, thank you. Because sometimes I'm just like, sometimes get caught up doing the work and I'm just like, oh, like, is it actually like doing something and making a difference? But I think posting on LinkedIn, like, putting myself out there helps. But I'm just like, I'm super thankful. I was super thankful for that comment. I don't know if I told you that already yet, but super thankful for that. Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
But yeah, but I saw that you're doing like so much, and I just want to like ask you about just your life and everything. Like, where did Marina start and everything? Like, you can start from the beginning, wherever you want to start.
I mean, you
can talk about whatever you want.
I am quite old, so.
Oh no! You look good though. You look good. You look good.
I have a lot of life behind me, but I guess I could start where I could say like I'm an immigrant into the United States. Yeah. So I was born in Italy. I grew up between Italy and Dominican Republic, and then came to the U.S. to study for college. I studied operation management and information systems at NIU. Go Huskies!
Yeah, nice.
And then I stayed here to build my career in technology because I fell in love with technology from an early age. Yeah. And that's kind of like how, in a nutshell, how I got started. My mom is Dominican, my father was Italian, and they did not go to college, so I was the first one to graduate from a college. I think ever. My dad did start college, but he never finished, and he went into business. So yeah, I have a lot of like background in business from my family that I can tell you about if you're interested, but there's a lot of history in my family of running businesses and being entrepreneurs, and they've always pushed me into more of a traditional career path where they said, go to college and graduate and get a job, kind of like that vein. But today I'm actually running my own startup. I started my own startup in technology, is an AI scheduling assistant, and I finally feel like I am living like the legacy or my ancestral legacy of like being an entrepreneur, and I love it. I really love it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. But I do want to ask, but I don't know about, but I do want to ask about that and everything. Just like what that was like, maybe growing up and like being surrounded by business, and even I know you said you started being interested in technology at an early age. What was that like, coupled with the business and everything?
It's interesting because my second name is Ida, or Ida, depending on how you pronounce it. But that was my great-grandmother's name, my Italian great-grandmother, and she started running a business for the family that actually grew up to be quite successful in Italy. She used to export and import like Italian cutlery, like meats and cheeses from Italy to Germany. And then my grandmother, my father's mom, built a juice fruit factory. So we had like land and we were growing fruits. And so I grew up in rural Italy, like in the field, if you will, like running around barefoot type of thing. But my dad was always a little bit more brainy, and he was always playing with computers. He was the type of guy and or person, because they could be a woman too, but he was the type of guy who would like disassemble a computer and then put it back together, or he would be like the whole Office 98 manual, and then
98,
like old school stuff, right?
It's okay.
And he like, and then I grew up watching him doing that, and that's kind of like how I started falling in love with technology and business. When he opened up his business in the Dominican Republic, because eventually he moved, he built his own database management accounting software in Access. Like Access, yes.
Wait, what does that mean? Like,
Access is like the Office. Like it doesn't. I don't think it exists anymore. People use it anymore. But it's like Word or PowerPoint. It was one of another tool from Microsoft.
Okay, nice.
But for building databases.
Wow.
And so he taught me how to build my first database of like having my friends' contacts in them.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know, it was like a whole thing, and at the time maybe I couldn't appreciate like the thing that he was teaching me, but he was always into computers, and from him then I kind of like pursued this passion of just computer technology, if you will. Yeah.
Wow, snap. That's really cool. Dang.
Yeah.
That's so like, so he started you from the bottom going up. It's just like, that's so interesting. Oh my goodness. I guess in that also I love the matriarch energy with the grandmas with the grandmas starting both their own like businesses.
Yeah,
awesome.
The women in my family are very entrepreneurial. Like I would say like maybe like it skipped a generation, because I do have an older sister, but she's not into it at all.
Okay, yeah.
She knows 7 languages. She's a little different than us, but
really cool.
definitely like there's a lot of women in my family. Even my mom, she's always been very much on the go-getter, build her own thing. If she's not making pastries on the side, she's working at a restaurant.
Wow.
So, and she became a chef. And so it's always been this type of energy of like building something. And yeah, I loved it. And I loved it from a very young age.
That's really cool. Oh, I love that. I love the energy so much.
Yeah.
Is it interesting? I don't know. I guess we'll get into that in a minute. Like when you moved like to the U.S. and everything. I know we're still building it, as a culture and everything, but it's definitely like it's definitely a male-dominated culture in that sense. So what was that like, taking that, what you grew up with, understanding and taking it here? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I grew up in male-dominated cultures, and my grandmother, the stories that I'm telling about my mother and my grandmother and my great-grandmother were all kind of like outliers, because most people who run businesses in the Dominican Republic or in Italy are actually men. So they're both very much male-dominated cultures, and by me coming to the US, I actually thought I would be freed of that.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. Oh wow.
And then I entered into an industry that is very much male-dominated, and so throughout my career, I've been encountered with being the only woman, and most of the time the only colored woman in my tech team. And because I'm very ambitious, I was leading tech teams that were mostly white men. And so I was confronted with a similar cultural exposure in terms of male-dominated industry. But I've been working, because I guess I learned business through my dad, I've been working with men quite often. I think maybe a big difference is, believe it or not, is that in the US, actually, there's a little bit more respect toward women than in Italy or in the DR, actually. Yeah, it's very much like I could chart a path for myself, and yes, there was a lot of a bias, but not as much as in these other two places.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Dang. I guess, what was like, is there anything that you learned like navigating that? I know you took a lot from like working with like your dad and everything, and understanding like the culture you came from, even to like into the one here now, here like in the US. I mean, Was there anything that you took from that? Like, was there any like hints of imposter syndrome that came up, or was there anything like you learned about the process that helped?
Yeah, like for a long time, and even sometimes now, if I am honest with myself, I still feel like, am I going to be able to make it? Right? I just started this business. Am I going to be able to thrive in this business, in this setting, in technology? There's sometimes I get this moments of like questions. It has happened many times in my career too. Like for example, me and my team at the time, I was leading a team, and we went to a vendor lunch. And the vendors were keep trying to sell this software to one of my team members who was technically not the person who was making the decision. I was the one. And not until the end of the lunch when they were asking him like, hey, are you gonna sign up for this? And he was like, well, actually, like, she is the one making all the decisions. And it was such a cool moment because I was experiencing this almost from like an outside looking in. And part of me just was letting it happen, but it taught so much to my team as well as this man who was selling the software that it was just almost like an opportunity that I just took and ran with it, because all of a sudden my team members were able to understand what it is like to be a woman in tech. We're able to like see it in reality and in practice, how I was ignored through the lunch, and they were the one that were focused on. And that brought us together in a way that I cannot explain. Like my team was amazing, but that brought us together even further in some way. So that was, it was like positive and negative.
Exactly. All came together in the end. That's really cool. Wait, and even on top of all that, like, and you said like running like a team and everything, and I feel like in that sense of like helping, like, you know, you said you learned that from that at the end of the day and everything, and your team's able to come together from that. Like, how is it like managing a team? Like, are you able to like, is it lessons where you give them the freedom to learn and then you kind of come back together? Is that kind of like, I guess, what's the dynamic I guess you do when we're running a team?
I have like big opinions about running a team.
Oh yeah? Oh snap! Well, I'm here for them.
The first thing I want to say is like, because of the nature of my industry, technology, I'm confronted with having led teams of team members that were all ages. So one of the things I encountered early on is that sometimes I would have been put in managerial position of a team member who had 30, 40, 50 years more experience than I did. Just because they were very, very good at their job, very specialized, but not taking the team leadership position, which is totally fine. Like, nowadays you have a path as we call it as an individual contributor that can take you really far, and you can also take the path of the managerial contribution, which can take you far. And then even further now, you can actually switch between these roles.
Oh, I know that. Okay.
So it's really cool. So I was sometimes in charge of people who had a lot of more experience than I did, and there's so much respect for that has to go into that. At the same time, you gotta stand your ground and kind of like be assertive about the trajectory that you want to take your team on, because at the end of the day, you're the leader of that team. To me, that speaks to a lot of collaboration and of those senior team members, and actually understand where they are and what they want to do, and kind of sometimes let them do their thing because they're so good at it, and then spending time nurturing the more younger talent that is coming in and is trying to learn, is trying to chart their path, and really trying to connect with them in a different way. So as a leader, there's, to me, one of the most important things is like human connection, right? Like, how do you relate to the team members and not treat them like cogs, cost of goods sold, or a number, and really spend time getting to know them. And the other thing that I'm really passionate about is giving guidance but not micromanage. So I can set a really, the thing that I always say for my team is like, we're not here to do easy things. If it was easy, other team members could do it. What are some of the hard things that we can do coupled with the trajectory of the business and the business priorities that they have? And so I always give problems. I never give mandated solutions. So the problem we're going to solve this quarter is X. Bring 50,000 more users to our platform. And then I would get the team together and the necessary parties to solve that problem together so that they actually got ownership of the solution that we were building, and they could understand why we were doing what we were doing. And I found that I got a lot of buy-in from that because, and they would say, it's like, Marina, you always bring us problems. Like, that's my job, I bring you problems. Right? I am part of the solutions, but I bring you the problem, the high level goal that we're gonna go and solve together. And from there, we can all work together and solve that problem.
I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I think like the first part that reminded me of like, I was recently we had to read like, I'm in this brand design class essentially, and we have to read Shoe Dog and everything about like Nike and everything, the CEO of Nike. And I think one thing, I'm probably gonna butcher this quote for real, but like when you like hire people, it's like kind of like, I don't know what the fully quote is, I probably should know, but essentially like when you hire them, like don't tell them what to do, just let them surprise you and everything. We'll give them like almost like a lay of the land, let them surprise you essentially. And so that kind of reminded me of that, which I think is really good because you're kind of letting them free, flex, learn. Because micromanaging, that's why people quit. People get quit early because it's like, or burn out because it's just so much. There's so much tension, I think, in the workplace. I think it's a cause of so much in the workplace.
And I would say like the surprises can come positive and negative too, because it's not always that they succeed. And so as a leader, it is important to understand what amount of failure you can handle as well. A lot of leaders cannot handle failure very well. And so what happens is that they default to micromanagement because, again, they cannot handle seeing a team fail or not achieving the objective that they were set out to do. And I don't know, I'm a very high risk tolerant person. So I take like really big chances, but I also make sure that our fundamental jobs are taken care of. So what that could look like is 80% of the time, no, maybe less, 60-70% of the time we're doing what we're supposed to do, we're maintaining business, we're following business goals, and that 30% of the time we're taking risks. And because I have a high risk tolerance, I can handle failure and success equally. But it's like sometimes it's a gamble because team may surprise you either way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you don't know. But I find beauty in that too, because there's always something to learn.
Wow, there's a lot in there. Hold on, wait. I think one thing I've never connected before was the whole micromanaging and that high, was it tolerance for failure? Is that what you said?
Yeah, tolerance.
High tolerance for failure. I've never connected those two at all, but that makes so much sense actually, because oh my goodness, because you're just like, okay, let me control everybody because I don't want us to go down further than we were. Because I've only like seen that treated to like entrepreneurship, maybe even just like even personal projects. That's okay to fail because you're learning more. But I've never seen that in a managerial standpoint. That's really cool, by the way. But I find it interesting though, like being on a balance, like having almost like understanding like your team, like you understand your tolerance, but understanding your team's tolerance in that sense. Is that something that you just kind of test the waters and like with each project you kind of like grow and learn and change?
Yeah, like I think that's a really good question because you have a good point. Like what my tolerance is high for risk, but how is my team tolerance for risk? And sometimes it may sound hard, but sometimes it does not matter. Sometimes as a leader, you need to be able to push your team to do the things that are scary, to do the things that we may not come out of, to take those risks that will give a big payoff. And sometimes we don't get there. And there's learning for the team in that as well, right? But yeah, I did have team members that were scared to be like, I want to take the reins of this, or I feel like we're going in the right direction. And there's a lot of, and this is where your conviction as a leader needs to come in. This is where you need to tell them and sell them the vision of where we're trying to go, what we're trying to achieve, and why this is important. And even if we like shoot for the moon or aim for the moon and get to the stars, or,
I got
you know what I mean? Like, and trying to really motivate them to take those risks. At the end of the day, the only constant is that everything is changing, and so if we're not making those risks, what are we doing? What are we here for?
Yeah.
But that's a very specific me leadership.
No, I feel like that's something that's needed. That needs to be more than for real just you and everything, because like conviction is that's really important. Like being able to like, I feel like it's almost like that not emotional state. I feel like that's the wrong word. There's a different way. I feel like I'm using the wrong word. It's not emotional, but it's like it goes deeper than just like surface level, essentially. And I feel like people can sense that, especially people that that work around you, work under you, and everything. People really close to you can sense that. I think in that sense, like, how do you convey like some of those convictions to like, how do you convey that to the team? Like, I know some people might be. I know for me, I always like say stuff from very like emotional or like very like what's a better word for it? Almost like I'm not getting the word right now, but almost like very like not concrete, essentially from a standpoint.
Yeah.
So like, how do you, for someone who would want something concrete, how do you like convey that, or even someone who has different?
Yeah, like as engineers, I would say that like you need to kind of build a toolkit to figure out what information do you want to say to who. So like the way I would communicate with my boss is a different. The way I communicate with my peers is different. The way I communicate with my team, and so sometimes even within team members, you have to take different strategies. So if I know I'm going in with a very analytical person, I'm going to have my research done, and I'm going to be like, look, this is the research that I've done. This is why we need to do this. This is why it's important. This is the return on investment that we can get. This is how much it's going to cost us. This is how I estimate it, right? Like, and by the way, they could be part of building that as well, right? You don't have to build it all. But then if you're in with a person who's more maybe emotional or more like they are more non-analytical, let's say, you can then have a conversation or be more passionate or use those skills. But those skills are important to tailor to the person that you have in front. It's hard to say like,
know your audience.
Know your audience, for sure.
Yeah, does that come with like individually, like I think you talked about a little bit before, but like going and meeting with like your team members and talking with them individually, like learning about them, or I don't know, like you like I guess you learn about your team members individually and then go from there?
I would say like there's no guessing. Ask them. Ask
you're
them.
right. Yeah.
Like, I see you're uncomfortable with us. Tell me, how do I make you feel more comfortable? Like what would make you feel more comfortable? And they will tell you. They would be like, I need to understand if we have more budget for this, or I need to understand if X leader is really on board with this, or like they will tell. If you just ask people, they will tell you what they need.
It's so simple. But something that's like you just, like
talk to them. Like, it's not like people don't want to work. Like, there's this thing going on, is people don't want to work. That's not true. People do want to work. Most people that are working want to do a good job at what they're doing. Have you ever asked them what they want to do? Like, have you ever bothered understanding what their motivations are, what it's important to them? Maybe they want to have a very steady day every day and go home every day at 5 and work unpopular opinion again 4 days a week, 3 days a week, and that's it. Ask them, like, and work with them, because everything is possible at the end of the day. Like, you just have to find, and maybe it's possible not on this team, maybe it's possible on another team, maybe it's possible at a different time. Like, there's so many opportunities to connect with people where they are and for what they want. And those things change. So ask them, but ask them again. Ask them after 6 months, ask them after a year. See how they have changed in their journey of life and what they want to do, or what their ambitions are, or what it's important to them. And I don't know, just build.
I love that. No, it's so simple. It's just like me, corporate, I guess, a bit overcomplicating it, because you see all these methods, just like, ooh, do this and everything, then you figure out and write it down, do all this stuff with that. But it's like just talking to people.
Not magic.
Oh no, maybe it's like something of the internet culture. Everyone just like finding out strategies, like not being face to face, not really being able to like all these cues and everything. You're not really aware of it anymore. Maybe they're just guessing at this point. But
the advantage of yeah, that's one advantage, right? Like in the internet, you're confronted with a bunch of strangers that have different motivation, and that's very different than having a person in front of you and being like,
yeah, exactly.
what do you like?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are you?
Just fully, about to say, just fully taking in their whole essence, essentially.
Yeah.
But no, awesome. Thank you so much for that. A lot of new things I need to start bringing notebooks and everything to these podcasts. I know I watch it all over again, but I'm just like, I feel like real time, I'm just like, when the moment hits, I'm like, oh, okay, snap. But I do want to ask you, I guess, even like, with like motivating your teams and everything, how does that like your personal life kind of balance with both the thing, with like being your professional career, I guess?
Yeah, so again, different seasons, different times. Right now I'm a single mom of 2 girls, and I have come, and it was very different from where I did not have kids. When I did not have kids, I was networking a lot, I was attending evening events more, right? And I think there's just some type of acceptance that needs to come from like, this is where I'm at in my life, and this is how much I want to give into my work or my business or my family or whatever it is. And being like realistic about that and being honest about that is important to me. Like I don't subscribe to hustle culture, for example. Like that's not a thing that I think it's healthy for me. But I do subscribe to like working really hard, being focused, and also working hard on your family and working hard on your health or working hard on your passions or your interests. And so it's about prioritizing potentially, right? Like what is the life that you want to design for yourself and working towards that life instead of letting life happen to you and attending to everybody else's priorities. Chips will fall where they fall. Like
no, that's really good. I feel like that's something I'm still like let's say struggling with, but trying to figure out for myself and everything, because I think someone in the podcast and everything asked me the other day just about like what is your vision for life, and I was like, I guess I'm still trying to figure that out fully. Like I feel like I was like figuring out like as I was talking about it, but
what is your vision for life?
No. I'm still trying to figure it out. I think for me, right now I just want to. For now, I just want to say like it's being able to like show people that you can do. I don't know. You're like you can do more than you think. Essentially, like almost think I don't know if it's a mindset thing or just like a professional thing, maybe. But also, I guess at the same time, it's like I'm still working to like get to that point where I'm like doing a lot of things that I want. And I think it's like it's that. I think the biggest thing about that is just like I have this vision of like you can help people like achieve all they can achieve, because I feel like a lot of people limit like, oh, I can only do this, I can only do that, but like you can do so much more. You can like people are like, oh, you start a podcast, how you start, like you can just do it tomorrow, like you can just start doing something like that. But I think it's that saying that, but equally like myself like limiting my own self sometimes and be like, oh, can I do that? Can I do this? And like I don't want to tell people one thing and do something totally different, and then like, and I don't know, maybe it's that risk tolerance for failure too. Like if I try this out, will I fail, and then like will the words kind of fall away of me trying to motivate other people when I'm not really doing great myself? I don't know. It's like that full circle thing. But I think for me, I want to be able to like I want to say, I'm trying to like add everything up into like what is like the core of everything. Because like the podcast, I know me when I was younger, I've always wanted to see people like who look like myself, who are doing like who are actually like going thriving, being leaders, being CEO entrepreneurs. I'm just like I want to see more of that. So I was like, let me be that for someone else. And I really passed about education essentially, because I feel like the education system in like America is very, very terrible. And I was like, I would love to like to motivate like students to be able to like do something there, to like be passionate, to do what they're passionate about, not be limited by like what they're what society's giving them. I don't know, I'm tearing up, but essentially, yes.
Why are you tearing up?
I don't know why I'm tearing up, actually. I don't know. I'm just going to stop, like, tearing up, and hopefully it will stop. But I just...
What was that for you? What was that about?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't expect to be leaking today. Let's give us One second. I don't know. I just Well, dang. Okay, hold on.
So here's the thing, like sometimes, like I see your passion. You want to help so many people, and sometimes we feel like maybe what I heard is like we gotta keep it perfect. Or not perfect, but we gotta look like, we gotta plan, and we gotta keep our things together. And you hear my story, and we haven't talked about all of my F-ups and all of my failures, and you know what I mean? But the reality is that life is quite messy, and that we are all kind of just figuring it out, and that there is no one right way to do anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, dive deep into what you feel passionate about today, and if that changes tomorrow, dive deep into that tomorrow. If that changes the next day, dive deep into that when it changes. And remember that most people are not caring about what you're doing.
Okay. I think I fully grasp, but yeah.
Nobody cares, like, really, like nobody cares. Like nobody cares except for you, but in a good way, like in the sense that nobody's like looking at your life and trying to like dissect and trying to catch you in a you switch careers. I switch jobs every 2 years for the last, or year and a half, or year sometimes, for the last 5 to 6 years of my career. Have I been asked that once? No.
Yeah.
I hear some people ask about it, whatever. So what? So what? Like that. This is my path. This is my journey. I design it the way I want it. So you don't like it? Okay, let's go to the next. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, let's release some of that pressure that we have about pretending or trying to be X, Y, Z, whatever, and just like live in your. You're doing it. Live in your truth. Help who you want to help, and just.
That is true. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know I'm like, leaking all of a sudden, but yes, I appreciate you making.
Do you want to talk about it?
Oh, I mean, like, yes, everything. I think I literally just like what. I commented like on this LinkedIn. There was a about I forgot her name. But this woman that was just like, what people think about you, you just gotta let them and keep going.
Yeah.
I feel like something I gotta keep reminding about myself, for myself and everything, because like, I feel like it's almost, which I need to figure out, like, I don't know if you have any advice, that'd be great, but like, figure out how to like fully, or maybe you don't ever do this, but fully absorb like, okay, like, people have their opinions, this is mine. I feel like, and I'm like doing okay. I feel like it's like a cycle essentially, whereas like I do stuff, and I'm like, okay, we're great, like people are gonna say stuff, great, let them say it, and then it's like you get back to that point where it's just like, ooh, well, you get all imposter syndrome, and then like it kind of like happens all over again. So it's
like this spiral.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that myself, but it comes from a place, I think for me, it has come from a place of feeling powerless towards my own life. And as, I wouldn't say as Black women, sometimes we may feel like everybody else has power over something that we want to do. Like someone else is gonna have to open that door for us, or someone else has the key, and we have to be at their mercy. And so if that's your experience,
yes,
then like it's to remind yourself that they don't. Like society says they do, the system says they do, internet, all this conversation we're having, and it's a lot about also the content we consume, right? Like if all of the content we consume says, in my industry, white men are founders, I'm not gonna believe that I can be a founder, right?
Yeah.
But if I start consuming content that says look at my great grandmother, look at my grandmother, look at my mom, look at this woman, look at Ida B. Wells, look at the latest women in technology, and I start to realize that the narrative is just a way to keep us there, and we need to kind of like remember who we are, almost, right? Like remember that we have the key, that the key is ours, and that not everybody will agree with it, but those are not the only doors available to us. There's windows, there's doors.
Yeah, windows is great.
There's all kinds of ways that we can get to what we want to get to. It can take long, it can take a little bit of time, depending on who you are, depending on your life and what you want to do. It does not matter. Like at the end of the day, you got the keys. They're yours. Just snatch them.
Yeah,
snatch them, take them back, because you're the one who gave them away.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Just like get those keys back and open your own doors. Open your own windows. Just pry them open. Like take a hammer, push it through. You will do it. Yeah.
Thank you. I really need to hear that. And it's kind of like, I know we had like a mini earlier conversation too about like me trying to figure out like what's happening for the summer and everything and how that's gonna go. Kind of like have like, ooh, I think I have this perfect, I guess, vision of where I want to go, but like I have no idea if it's supposed to be like that or not. I think it's like I'm trying to figure it out because I feel like the reason I'm here is like because like this, I don't know, I base it on my faith as well for me being here, because like even coming to grad school at Northwestern is like I didn't know if I was going to actually be able to go because of like, you know, finances and everything. But then I got this like scholarship that I was supposed to hear about. Like it was like I got it in August. I was supposed to hear back in March if I got it. Didn't hear anything in March, so I thought I don't have that scholarship. I need to figure out other ways to pay for college and everything, or for grad school. And then like got 3 weeks before, like they just said, hey, we decided they're gonna give you this. And so I'm like, well, yeah. So I'm like, yeah. So college debt free. We love to see it. I think I'm just now like, okay, well, what's the reason why I'm here? And it's maybe it's because I'm getting to that perfectionist mindset where I'm just like, ooh, I need to have that perfect lineup after that, because that I'm lined up for a reason. Like, what's the reason from that? So, but I need to accept those different paths and everything. Which
I feel like, young. Me too, by the way. When I speak about this, I'll speak about for myself.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, one of the things that I really struggled with was the fact that I was so attracted to so many ideas, and I've always was so jealous and envious of people who like had like, my ex-husband is like, went to law school, decided to be a lawyer, was like first year law, second year law, third year law, went to corporate law, now he's like GC, and he's got such this like linear, very predictable, not boring, but very predictable career path. And I was always so jealous of that, because I was like, why am I like a dabbler? Like I feel like a dabbler in everything, and I'm not good at anything. I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, but I'm kind of good at this, and I'm kind of good at that, and I cannot just like find my way through this weird world. And I struggle a lot with that. In my career, growing up, I was like, who am I? What is my purpose? What is my passions? Do I even passionate about tech anymore? Like, what do I do? So I feel like that, and that happens like every 90 days. Like every 90 days, it's like, oh my God, who am I? Am I having an identity crisis? But at the same time, it's like part of it, I feel like it came from maybe similar to you, is like the fact that I wanted to control the way it went. Like I had expectations that were not mine, were societal's expectation, or were like the fact that I needed to prove to whomever that I was gonna succeed, and the fact that I had to prove to my family that I did not come to the US in vain, or what if I go back home and I'm a failure? Like all those things that I was like almost subconscious, or the fact that maybe I had a successful partner and I needed to prove to them that I was also successful to be in their presence or whatever. All of that, right? All of that. And my brother tells me actually this about me. He's like, it's really hard being your brother sometimes because you look like you're so successful. So like, who am I? And so in that vein, we look outside for this type of validation, when in reality, like, our validation needs to come from ourselves and from within. And as soon as I started accepting myself and being like, yeah, this is what I do, I'm a dabbler, I start businesses, I'm really good at it. I've slowly, through action, I've been proving that to myself. Nobody can take that away from me anymore, right? Maybe in the past they were able to say things and hurt me like in my ego. A lot of times I've heard like, oh, you're not a good technologist. I was like, why? You don't even know me. You haven't worked with him. You don't, because I'm a brown woman in tech. I'm not a good technologist. Oh, you don't code anymore, so you're not a software developer. Why? I started coding and I coded a lot of the time, and I could probably teach somebody else how to code. So why am I not? Like, based on who is saying this? Whose opinions is this, right? And I did struggle. I continue to struggle. I did struggle with that a lot. And I think the way that I have been dealing with it is I've been just proving to myself small things. I started with small actions, like, can I start a company? Going back to living in different countries, like when I moved to the Netherlands 2 years ago, after a year, I was laid off from Stack Overflow, and I was like, I don't want to go back to tech. I'm going to start a bed and breakfast. So I started a bed and breakfast, and I ran a bed and breakfast in Rotterdam for a year. And that was a way to prove to myself that I could do it. And by proving to myself that I could do these small things, these big things, small actions, I'm giving myself the confidence to be like, oh no, I know exactly who I am. I know exactly the value that I can bring. And it's all in that. It's like reminding yourself like that you're powerful. But you gotta see it. You gotta like do it, and then you gotta see it. You know, and then you gotta give yourself credit. Like, because you're doing it. You're doing the podcast. You're doing grad school. You got your scholarship. I see you doing it. Do you see you doing it?
I guess not. I don't know. I guess, what is that, like, reflecting period? Like, is it like legit, like it's like a journal? Is it from a journal, or is it in form of like just you sitting with yourself more, or how do you kind of vision that?
Yeah, like there's a lot of talking to myself. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of also like, for me, depending on the moment, now I can recognize when I'm more affected by others. And so in those moments, I stay with myself more. And then there's some moments that I'm able to give out more, and then I do. But it's important sometimes to protect your energy. So whether it's I journal a lot, I write down things a lot, I do videos sometimes. When I do videos, sometimes I do motivational videos, and then I watch them for myself.
I do that.
Or I make one cool things is like I made like mantra in a voice note, and then instead of listening to like YouTube mantras, I listen to my own voice telling myself like, you got this, you're strong, and it's like it feels different when you hear your own voice telling yourself these things. It's like I feel like it gives me goosebumps because it's like it's different. It's like it's almost like you're hyping yourself up. This is not some musician telling me. This is me. I'm telling me I got this. I'm good at this. Remember this, right? And so all of those things, whatever works, but all those things have helped me to grow into myself more, and believe myself and trust myself more.
I think that's one thing to work on, like doing that more of that internal work. I feel like a lot of my motivations are very external in a way, and the way I add to it is very external. Like, okay, here's another person I can prove myself to. Here's another metric I can prove, like by some way someone thinks about me or way someone views me. And so that's something I need to work on. I don't know. I guess
it's not wrong. Like it's very normal. Actually, a book that explained to me a lot of this was "Women Running with Wolves" by Clarissa Pinkola Estes.
Okay.
And basically kind of like explains the phases of womanhood and how these things can actually have a video about this, but it explains the phases of womanhood and how we relate to others or to ourselves and to the phases of our lives. And to be clear, it's not wrong comparing yourself to external. That's like normal. We live in a society where we're always confronted with others. And so part of the cool thing about that is that as you confront yourself with others, you can learn about you, because you can immediately tell like, oh, this resonates with me and this does not resonate with me. I think where the work comes in is that when something does not resonate with you is, or does, either way, is to decide whether you want to believe in it or not, right? Whether you think you're right or you think everybody else or those people are right. Like for a long time in my career, people would tell me like, you're great at marketing, you need to go and study marketing. Or I had a professor in college who was like, you're great at math, you need to be a math major. And while I did appreciate those comments, because I do have skills in both of those areas, they were not true for me. So I kind of had to like figure out, is like, oh my God, like, but they say I'm so good at this, should I just go do that? But it never felt like quite right or quite aligned. And so I never kind of pursued those things. And I don't know, we'll see what happens, maybe I could be a great marketer, a great mathematician. I would never know. I just chose to do something that resonated more with me and what I wanted to do, regardless of those opinions, although I appreciated them and I keep it in the back of my head. I'm like, oh, remember, somebody said you're great at math, so maybe you can, in your business, you can double down on the math part of the business. Or in your business, if you had to take a function, you can double down on the marketing part of the business. Because I remember people commenting about my strengths. And again, it's a matter of, I don't know if this resonates with you, but like, is it like, hear it? Or, like I've had situations in which people, like literally early in my career, a guy was like, in corporate America, a guy stood up and he was having a horrible day. He was just yelling at me, like, can you do this? Are you able to do this? Can you figure it out? In front of everybody. And I was like, hello? I need a break. I'm going to go talk to you for later. Because right now you cannot conversate with me. I could have taken it as I am bad at this. And maybe parts of me was like, kind of like, oh, ouch, that hurt, because he was like, I looked up to the person, but I also recognize that like, can I choose to believe this? Do I choose to believe this for myself, or do I choose to believe that if I practice, if I put effort, I can get good? And maybe I'm not as good. Maybe he's right somewhat, that I'm not as good as he is, or as his expectations or whatever, but could I get there? And my answer was yes. Like I could put in the effort, I could work, and I could learn, and I could get there. And I chose to believe in that. And so distancing ourselves from what others think of us, but also hearing it is also good. I feel like it's a two-way sword. It's like
true. That makes sense.
Keeping a little bit of somewhat of like a distance, and sometimes things hurt or make you feel good, but you gotta make your own opinion about that opinion.
I got you. I guess in the sense of the parts of that, when you go through life, those parts that you do resonate with and everything, how is it like, I feel like this is not the best word, but like balancing everything that you're like, oh, like, I feel like I do resonate with that. Like, I know you say you resonate with stuff like, math, marketing, but stuff that you do resonate with, how do you know, like, do you pursue, how do you know which to, like, pursue with, like, the bandwidth that you have, or the boundaries that you set and everything for yourself with this?
Like, my favorite quote that I've had in my notebooks for a long time has been like, follow your passions, they know why. And for me,
is it follow your passions? Say it.
They know why.
They know why. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And so for me, that always resonated or was true for me because, as I was telling you, I've always been like, they call them multi-hyphenate, a person that has multiple interests. And so for other people, it could be a different motivation or something like that. But the way I think about it is like, my gut telling me this is it. And it comes up once, then it comes up again, then it comes up again, and comes up, and then sometimes I cannot let an idea go. And then it kind of like nags at me so much that I'm like, okay, I gotta follow it. I gotta follow it. Like, I don't care what everybody is. It's like, it just comes up so much that you're like, all right, cool. And we are blessed as women, as Black women, with a powerful gut feeling. I feel like I think that's one of our superpowers, right? And we're also sometimes taught not to listen to those, so like we gotta relearn how to listen to our gut feeling. Could be right, could be wrong, it doesn't matter, but it's yours. And that's part of the risk tolerance, right? Like, are you willing to listen to somebody else and fail? Or are you willing to listen to yourself? And like, that's how I think about it. It's like, would I rather listen to myself and fail? Or would I rather listen to somebody else and fail? And my answer has always been, I'd rather listen to myself and fail, quote unquote fail, and learn what I'm supposed to learn. That has always seemed more palpable to me than following somebody else's and then being like, they had a bad advice. I can blame it on them. It's their fault. It's bad advice. No, take responsibility. Like, make your choice and go for it.
Wow. Okay. I love that. Thank you so much. Let's see. Oh wow, I feel like we covered a lot. Let's see. I do want to ask you about just like moving to like Netherlands and everything. What that was like, just like that scope. I know that's a big pivot, but I just want to know about that because I really want to travel the world one day. I want to see everything. I've always want to go to Denmark, but that's a whole other conversation. But like, so let me know like what like how,
why Denmark, if I may ask.
Denmark. Well, I was like, in like not undergrad. It was in high school essentially. Well, I've always was like, I'm gonna be an engineer. And then I was like, and it wasn't until like I had to write this paper about like anything that we wanted and everything, like in my senior year of high school. And I was like, ooh, what about, I don't know, I think I got the idea of like architecture from like someone who was like, oh, I love architecture. And I was like, oh God, I know engineering, I know architecture. I was like, oh, I don't know. So I was like, let me dabble in architecture, see what it's like. And I don't know, I just like, I love architecture so much. I almost was like, maybe I should become an architect, but I'm not there now. But I was like, I just love that it's like the buildings are a reflection of like the people that lived in there, and it's like, and the building almost tells a story of what it was like in that day and age, whenever it was built, whenever it like came up, and so I'm just like, I love that so much, and I love architecture who could actually like convey that, not just like build, just standard things, everything. And one of my favorite like architects now, Bjarke Ingels, he has he's from Denmark and has like a whole studio there. He also has a studio in New York as well that he's building and everything. But like, he's my favorite architect. He's there, and so I just want to go. I want to see his buildings, everything. I want to go to the Lego house. I want to go to the design stores. It would just be like a wonderful time. I don't know. I've always just wanted to go and just experience.
That's really cool. So Denmark, Scandinavia, it's similar to Netherlands. But they wouldn't admit to that.
Okay. It's a little bit going on.
Netherlands are like, no, we're all country. We're a different type of white. I'm like,
it's a different type of white.
I was like, sure. But I moved to the Netherlands because after COVID, we were working remotely, and my mom, my stepdad, my brother, they all live in the Netherlands, and I wanted to be close to my family. I wanted the girls to be close to my family. So we were working remotely anyways, and we're like, let's go spend a year there. And it was kind of like those decisions that it was made in November, we were supposed to leave in June, and then we left in March.
Oh, wow. Okay, wait. Oh, why? Okay.
Because I was like, now that I made the decisions, I was like, let's go.
Yeah,
what are we waiting for, right? So we kind of got rid of everything. We took a few luggages with us, and then just like packed our stuff and got there. I think like living in a different country, especially in Europe, we were very lucky because Netherlands is a very like English-centric country, especially in Rotterdam where we live. We didn't live in Amsterdam, we lived in the second largest city, which is Rotterdam. Everybody speaks English. So, but that is not the case for a lot of other Americans that move to Europe because their national language is not English, it's Dutch. So we kind of were quickly introduced to Dutch and had to kind of like figure out like how do you do this whole like Dutch English thing, and that's kind of like a cultural shock sometimes because you maybe after living in the US for almost 15 years, I was like, I felt home, and then all of a sudden I'm an outsider again. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm reminded that you know that I'm not from here. I don't know the language. You're using Google Translate a lot of the times, and that's like a lot of work in itself. And then learning the culture, learning how people act, how is it different from your own culture. Even like very simple things like a cafe is a wheat shop and not a coffee shop.
Wait, wheat shop, is that like a brand? Is that
because they have legalized drugs.
Snap! I'm thinking bread. That's totally not. Okay. Gotcha.
So like if you ask for like where's the closest cafe, you're like there, and you're like no, that's not what I'm talking about.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Or a coffee shop is a wheat shop, and then a cafe is actually a coffee shop. So
actually, it's a lot of
So a coffee shop is like and I'm like, all right, well. Or if you you have to order a cola at the restaurant, not a Coke, because Coke is the drug, not the Coca-Cola.
Yeah. I guess so definitely have to be very specific. I guess there
well, there's it's like the small things that you learn through just like living in a different country that are just funny, and then the waiters will always make the same joke like, oh, I cannot offer you that, but I can bring you a cola. And I'm like, okay. I've heard that 13 times now. I learned that.
Oh no.
And then I personally love Dutch culture because it's very much crass and in your face, and they tell it to you how it is. And I can appreciate that because I speak 3 languages at least, probably like 3 and then halves of other ones, and so sometimes with me it's very hard to like understand irony or things like that in English. English is my 3rd language, so in Dutch culture I was like very much at home because I was like just tell it. Just tell it.
Good.
You're like you're doing something wrong, or you're doing something right. They'll just tell you exactly, and they're very clear about it. So I really love that, and one of my favorite things actually is that Rotterdam, most people look like me and you. So 60% of the Rotterdam population is mixed. And so unlike America where you're very much segregated and maybe you have black communities, Asian communities, white communities, etc. In Rotterdam, people learn very quickly that there is benefits in mixing. Mixing heritages. And so it's very, very normal for kids to look mixed, and so I very much looked like a person from Rotterdam, and people would start talking to me in Dutch like it was like I was a normal person there.
It's like, oh.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Dutch. And I'm not from here, but I love that because it speaks to a different type of culture that is very much open to other. I'm gonna say other in quotes because it's not others, but is non-natives, if you will. But because of their Dutch colonists in the Caribbean that are Dutch and they have Dutch passports, they cross-pollinate a lot, and they do mix a lot. So having mixed parents is very normal. So my kids felt quite at home there because we're a mixed family. So it for me and my experience and my life experience, it felt actually quite homely in that sense.
Yeah.
I felt like I belong there because that's just how the culture is, and so it was very much normal. Yeah, and their disclosure why Europeans or Europe in general is racist. Okay. So there is that to be clear.
Yeah. I got you.
And there is also this good part.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
don't want to bring that out because this is important. But I'm not justifying.
Very real. But no, I get you. It's really good. It's really good. Yeah. I was about to say, and even like, and over there, you said, Charlotte, you were like, you said the day bed, bed and breakfast. Bed and breakfast. Wow. Yeah. Day bed. Wow. The bed and breakfast and everything. Yeah. How was like push yourself to like start a whole company in a whole different like country?
I was like tired of working on my laptop and I needed people, contact, something physical to do, and then quickly enough I got tired of people and
you're like, we're gonna go reel it back in now. Like, great, this is fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what happened. But I don't know. I had an idea. I was like, okay, I could like Airbnb a place or buy a property and rent a place. Like I was like that was the vibe I was in that moment. And then it turned out like this opportunity to be like, oh, I could open a bed and breakfast and charge per night and make some extra money because then you add breakfast and you add a whole vibe and all these things. And it just kind of like, by just letting things happen, it just kind of like happened. And everything, feel so blessed because the business, we were booked every night. The business went really, really well. We had great guests from all over Europe that we got to meet and interact with. We had to hire staff, and it was just like a full-blown experience that by just taking a risk or following the universe, my God, however you want to call it, it just kind of unfolds on its own. It was a lot of work, but it was effortless. And I think that's what I'm trying to recreate with this new company too, is like, it's a lot of work, but can I make it effortless? Can I make it my own journey and the journey be me, you know?
Yes. Oh, that's exactly right. Because I know you said, you don't subscribe to hustle culture, which I love and everything, because that is like kind of running people to the ground right now. But we should like do it like making things feel like effortless. How has that been going right now? Is it Delegate? Yes, it is. How's that going now?
Delegate. We have a landing page up. Is delegate.io, in which basically I demonstrate how I believe that given AI, we can actually change the way we interact with others. I call it a productivity tool, because it needs a category, but in reality is a way to create more human connection. But it's not social media. So I don't know what this is. It's like a thing, a hybrid of its own. But the problem we're trying to solve is basically if you have personal and work, you have work commitments, you have personal commitments, you have school commitments. How do you figure out how to merge all of your calendars together? And also, how can I allow you to live your best life by connecting with others more seamlessly? So we want to take away the task of creating, editing, rescheduling, and canceling meetings. We want to be able to potentially provide you with events that you can attend at your local community or in the public. So, for example, if we know that you're free this Saturday because we kind of have your calendar, could we propose to you events that are happening that you may be interested in, right? And because we know your availability, maybe we can also suggest other friends if they're on the platform that can also come with you, right? So that's kind of the idea. And again, it's all about creating more human connection and leaving the task of managing your calendar to Delegate.
Okay, I like that. I really do like that. Okay, I need that in my life actually, because I need to go out and network in more events, and my calendar is sometimes has blank spaces in them, and I'm just like, all right, we're gonna sit at home. But that's awesome. That's awesome. And like, you started that recently. Like, how long ago did you start?
Oh well, I technically funded the company in 2023, but did not start it until January. So it's been a few months.
Nice. Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's amazing. I'd say I think I didn't really fully go into it earlier and everything, but I feel like I'm in that middle ground part where I'm like have like an idea but trying to figure out how to put it out and pull it together and everything. I don't know, how is it like communicating your vision for Delegate and everything to like when they say you secured funding, I don't know if it was to investors or something like that. How is it like communicating that vision?
Yeah, so I mean, the stats for investing in Black-owned companies, especially women-backed, they're very low, right? But in tech is kind of like a little bit of a catch-22 because a lot of investors wants to see traction before they invest into your company. Yeah. So right now I'm currently in the process of building some traction, some of that initial traction in order to attract private funding. In the meantime, I have applied for a federal grant called SBIR, in which you don't need to show traction. You just need to have an idea and a solid plan in order to execute on a research topic. And this way I'm able to fund my company and then decide whether I actually want private money or not. Because this is non-dilutive, which means that the federal government doesn't take a part of your company when they give you the grant. But if I were to take private equity, then I will have to give up part of my company. And so it's hard because I don't have a friends and family around. I cannot call my uncle and ask him for 10 grand or 20 grand.
Small loan of $1 million.
Small loan of $1 million, exactly. So the way I have done it is I've been self-funding it, right, by taking contract work, part-time work, by saving a lot in the last few years of my corporate job, and then applying for these grants in order to build this minimum traction that I call like the minimum viable product that I need in order to show that I do have a product that is funded in the market.
Got you. That's awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that.
Thanks.
I know like we're over an hour already, but it's okay. I do have like a couple more questions and everything. I do want to ask about like how you go about like meeting and networking with people and connecting with others. I feel like I'm like still a baby networker where I get myself out there sometimes, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, I get hunkered down by like, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do in front of people I don't know that have all this stuff, So like, how have you gone about networking, or how's that?
Yeah, so actually one of the best way of network is by having my own podcast.
Oh yeah, that helps. You're right.
Because you meet guests, right? And you talk to people and you have cool conversations, and they'll remember you because they spent an hour with you.
Exactly. We cried like right.
Exactly. So I think having a format like this is one of the best ways.
Okay.
Because you're promoting them, right? Like I will not forget that you came and decided to promote me and my business and things like that. It's something that kind of sticks with me, right? And so actually having my podcast helped me meet amazing people throughout the city. I was interviewing women CEOs, women that managing funds, the CEO of the zoo, who's a woman, she's amazing. The CEO of Adelaide Planetarium, she's a woman and she's amazing. There's so many women in the city that are killing it. And I wanted to give them a platform to speak, and that was what my way of networking, one way, right? Then the other way is obviously like you go to events and you try to meet people. I would say that is more like hit or miss. I like networking when I have a target. I'm like kind of like a shark. I'm a shark when I network, I have a target in mind and I can go around it like a shark, talk to the friend of the friend of the friend. It sounds calculated.
No, it's good.
But at the end of the day, if you want to meet somebody who's not easily accessible, like you gotta be a shark. You gotta figure it out. And then I think when you finally are able to go talk to them or anybody at a networking event, I find it quite easy. It's like just ask them questions. Everybody wants to talk about themselves. Just ask. You're good at asking questions. Ask them questions. Like, hey, how you doing? Like, what is something meaningful you've done in the last? Like, I tend to go really deep, really fast. So I think like some people like it and some people don't. But I would ask, like, hey, there's something meaningful you've done in the last 30 days that has impacted you, or what is a trend that you've seen that is really going to change the community, like something that is not just how are you doing, or like something like that, or it's like how, if you know they have kids because you've researched them before, it's like how are your kids doing in college, you know, I went through this in college, how are they doing in college, like, you know, like, and really trying to connect as humans. And like sometimes they would naturally ask, like, can I help you? Or sometimes you have to kind of be like, hey, I'm doing this, would you mind if I ask you for commendation for an interview for something, you know, like, but that all flows natural with the people that I hope
that makes sense. This is good. No, now I'm downloading. I'm uploading. I mean, downloading essentially. No, this is good. Thank you so much. Cause I think I need to get myself out there more. But I think when it comes to like you said you were like the shark and everything, and people that are like not easily accessible, is that like something that you like? You go and connect via like LinkedIn, or you just gotta put yourself in the same room as people, or is it like?
All of the above, but most importantly, like if I always try to be 2 to 3 degrees removed from that person, right? So like I may not go to them first. I may go to somebody that I know are connected to them, and try to like do a 360. Obviously, there's always the route of like sending them a message straight and see if they respond. And if they don't, then I'll try to shark around them. Because and then I will ask that person to make an introduction. So kind of like venture. I've heard this for startup founders where it's like it's always better for a startup not to pitch themselves to a venture fund, but have venture friends tell a venture fund about the startup. Kind of like that, you know, where you're like, please mention me to this person.
Exactly,
I really, you know, like, And sometimes that way is like quite easier because I think in Chicago specifically, people want to help. They're very open to help. Like if you explain to them what are you trying to do, your story, your mission, especially if you have a mission that is for good, you know, like you're not trying to just like rip everybody else off, but like you're trying to do something interesting and cool or good. People are always willing to help in Chicago, and that's one of the most beautiful things about the city, I think.
No, I say, I love the city. That like is like cherry on top. Then okay, well that's good because it's like
they're always trying to help.
Pulls back in, not intimidating as much now.
Men and women, by the way. Like I've had amazing experience with both men networking and women networking. Like just, you know, and sometimes people are busy. It doesn't work out. Of course, that happens. Or you didn't have an affinity, or they're not interested. Whatever. Those things happen, of course. But most of the time I found that they're always willing to put in a good word, put in a reference, connect you with somebody, always trying to help you out, you know.
Good.
That's really good.
That feels good. Oh, okay, please. Awesome. And I do have a last question. But I think you might mention this a little bit before, or talk about a little bit about it, but just like what do you feel like is the greatest piece of advice someone's ever given you, essentially? I know it's a lot. Take your time if you need to. I know it's a kind of big question. It's something you feel like defines you or your life. Maybe even how you see life.
I think I've changed this a lot.
Oh yes, that's fine.
So I've had different ones throughout the phases of my life. And I'm gonna try to get it right. But there is this quote that I heard that has been stuck in my mind for a few years now, which is when you learn how to do more with less, you will also do less and get more. And I don't know, I cannot tell you why it makes me peaceful. It gives me confidence that I don't need to be anything that I'm not. That I can just be myself and that everything will work out in its own way for me, that is custom fitted, white gloved. And so just to repeat, is when you learn how to do more with less, you will do less and get more.
No, I love that. That's just, it almost speaks like we were saying, like with being effortless when you like making things effortless whenever you like start a business and everything. Even like when it comes to like managing and everything, you're like you want to hear from people, not try to do all these tactics, try to I don't know, just cipher some type of people's energy. You just talk to them and everything. So it just really peels it back. And so
Yeah.
I think
it's very easy to like think that you can. There's a lot of people say just work harder.
Yeah, it's like, what does that
Just
mean?
work harder. Like work hard. Don't let go of the things that you know you're responsible with, that you know you can do. But it also speaks to me to having courage, and I think that's something that is undervalued, because part of like when you learn how to do more with less speaks to. I could easily be in the type of founder that is like, I want to try to find $5 million from a private fund, and then what? And then the journey, and how does that journey go for me? Like, could I learn how to do this in a way that maybe is more sustainable for myself? Or it's not that I'm saying no to $5 million, but what I'm saying is kind of like, sometimes all we want to say is like, I want to be rich. But why? For what? Right? Like, learn how to live a rich life first.
Yeah, that's true.
And then be rich.
Yeah, exactly. The rich will come. Yeah.
You're rich already. Like, that's just what happens after you learn how to be rich, you know, like have a rich life. That's kind of like the way I think about it. And then when you actually get that rich life, you will realize that you were already rich. So.
Oh, I think that's a perfect note to end on. Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on. This was awesome.
Thank you.